Let's talk about the morning of March 4th, 2026. The Indian Ocean, usually a busy highway for global trade, suddenly became a graveyard. We're about to walk through one of the most intense 24-hour periods in the simmering conflict between the US and Iran, and it all started with one ship in one moment.
So picture this. We're out in the open ocean, about 40 nautical miles off the coast of Sri Lanka. The Iranian frigate, the IRS Diana, is on its way home. It had just been part of an international fleet review in India, a totally peaceful mission. You have to imagine the crew, thousands of miles from any real danger zone, probably felt completely safe. They had no idea what was coming.
Because right underneath them, silent and invisible, a predator was hunting. A U.S. Virginia-class submarine. And with terrifying precision, it fired a single torpedo. The Iris Dina, a modern warship, was hit so hard it was gone, vanished from the ocean's surface in less than 5 minutes.
Back in Washington, the official word was, well, it was chilling. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, didn't celebrate. He just called it a quiet death. This wasn't just another strike, this was historic. It was the first time an American submarine had used a torpedo to sink an enemy warship since World War II. Think about that for a second.
So the big question is, why? Why this ship? Why right then? The answer is tied to something that happened days earlier and half a world away. An act of violence that America felt it had to answer. And to really get that answer, we have to first understand the weapon that was used.
To really wrap your head around how this quiet death was even possible, you need to get to know the weapon. Because this wasn't just some big explosion, I don't know. This was a masterpiece of brutal naval engineering. Say hello to the Mark 48 80 cap torpedo. This thing is a 3,600-pound beast, the absolute pinnacle of undersea weapons. But here's the crazy part. It's not about how it hits the target. See, this torpedo doesn't just blow a hole in the side of a ship. It does something way, way worse.
Okay, so check this out. The Mark 48 swims underneath the ship. A fuse makes it explode right under the keel, not against it. This creates a gigantic gas bubble that violently shoves the entire ship up out of the water. Then, as the bubble vanishes, the ship just slams back down into empty space. The force is so huge, it literally snaps the ship's spine in half.
And the sub that fired it was just as deadly. They call the Virginia-class the ghosts of the deep for a reason. It's built for what they call littoral operations. That's shallow water. It makes them perfect for hunting other ships near coastlines. And according to the Pentagon, the Iris Dana wasn't just any frigate. The claim was that it was a floating command center, coordinating attacks across the region. That made it a top priority.
But this stunning technological feat at sea didn't happen in a vacuum. It was a direct response to a human tragedy that set this whole thing in motion. The quiet death wasn't unprovoked. It was payback. And this is the story of why that submarine was waiting in the first place. Just a few days before the Dinarna sank, this was the number that lit a fire in Washington. 6 American lives, wiped out in a single drone strike on a port in Kuwait. In this conflict, it was the highest number of American casualties in a single day.
One of those lost was Major Jeffrey O'Brien from Indianola, Iowa. He was 45 years old, a veteran of 2 decades, a family man, a soldier, gone in a flash.
Another was Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzan, 54 years old, from Sacramento, California. And you know, these weren't frontline combat soldiers. They were logistics people, the backbone that keeps everything running. Iran got what some called a lucky shot, but the human cost was just immeasurable.
So the sinking of the Iris Dina was America's explosive answer. And in response to that answer, Iran unleashed absolute hell. A massive, coordinated barrage of missiles and drones screamed toward U.S. bases in Bahrain and Qatar, pushing this whole conflict right to the brink.
The scale of Iran's attack was just huge. They launched what one person called a high-speed projectile wave, 54 different threats all at once. But the American shield, it held. An unbelievable 50 of those threats were shot out of the sky. That's a 92% success rate.
And that success comes down to a multi-layered defense system. Think of it in 3 parts. Far out in the Gulf, Navy Aegis destroyers are knocking down the high-altitude missiles. Closer in, on the ground, Patriot batteries are taking out the mid-level cruise missiles. And for anything that still gets through, CRAM systems basically shred low-flying drones with a wall of bullets. It's a technological marvel.
But here's the thing, 92% isn't 100. That leftover 8%, that's the stuff of nightmares for military commanders. As one Pentagon official said, Iran only needs to get lucky once. We have to be perfect every time. That's a terrifying thought.
So a ship is at the bottom of the ocean. A missile shield proves itself, but the shockwaves from these 24 hours are now spreading around the world, creating diplomatic nightmares for countries just trying to stay out of it. I mean, just look at Sri Lanka. The Dinas sinks in their waters. Now, all of a sudden, they're responsible for 32 rescued Iranian sailors. And then you've got India. The Dinat was their honored guest just a few days earlier. This American strike right in their neighborhood is a huge challenge to their whole foreign policy, forcing them into this impossible position between Washington and Tehran.
All of it. The ghost submarine, the killer torpedo, the fallen soldiers, the missile shield, the global fallout. It all brings us to the most dangerous point in this conflict yet. And it forces us to ask a really difficult, really sobering question about what happens next.
When you really break it down, Operation Epic Fury is a story of two completely different realities clashing. On one side, you have this breathtaking technological power, a submarine delivering a quiet death, and a shield that seems almost perfect. But on the other side, you have the profound, irreversible human cost, symbolized by those flags flying at half-mast in Iowa and California.
And that brings us to the final, chilling question. Is this incredible display of American military might the beginning of the end for Iran's ambitions? Or is it just another turn of the screw, another cycle of revenge, in a forever war that keeps escalating until, one day, it finally reaches American shores?
This is a situation that's evolving by the hour, and we'll be here to break down whatever happens next. Make sure you're subscribed for future updates on this and other critical global stories. And be sure to watch the video coming up on your screen. Thanks for watching.